Hey everyone. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about that feeling that we can often get where we feel like we can't cope with the current situation that we're in. And actually when actually it feels like we can't cope with what life is throwing at us. And I had a really interesting conversation the other day about this, and it got me thinking that we create these coping mechanisms to kind of find a way around coping with life and whatever that entails and whatever that throws at us. And so we develop these coping mechanisms, whether it's an eating disorder, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's exercising, whatever it might be. But these kind of tools or strategies we use to actually get away from feeling whatever it is that life is making us feel. And that's often happens kind of subconsciously. We might not deliberately choose that, but often it feels like the most sensible thing to do, and that's why so many of us do it. Again, often it can be totally subconscious, and that was the case with me when I had anorexia. I didn't deliberately choose to have it. It just kind of started, and I don't really know why. But when we actually look a bit more closely at what these coping mechanisms are trying to do, and when we think that actually they're a way of avoiding dealing with what life throws at us because we feel like we can't cope with those feelings. Actually, when we look at it, our coping mechanisms are so often so much more intense, emotional, stressful, painful than anything we would kind of normally experience in life. And I mean, I'm just speaking from my own experience of my eating disorder. It was without a doubt the most challenging thing I've ever had to go through in my life so far. And so when we think that those coping mechanisms are a way to avoid feeling pain and avoid feeling those emotions that life can kind of trigger for us, actually we're dealing with so much worse already, or so much more, just more, than actually we would kind of experience without those coping mechanisms. So when we think that we couldn't possibly cope with life, actually we're already coping with and getting through so much more right now. And so it kind of, the coping mechanisms almost disguise themselves as a better option or an easier option. Whereas actually that's just not the case at all. And what I've seen for myself is that actually having gone through that experience of having an eating disorder, I know I can cope with anything. I can cope with anything that life throws at me because I've had to deal with a whole lot worse. And so I think it's something that hasn't really occurred to me before until this conversation the other day. And so I just really wanted to share it because perhaps you might not have considered it either. So I'd love to hear what you think. Feel free to leave comments below, yeah, I hope it's been helpful. Check out all our other videos as well, and I'll speak to you soon.